Yeah. Welcome to Grawlix Nights, the Grawlix Podcast live show. I'm Randy.
I'm Melanie.
And I'm Jesse.
Hey, everybody. What's going on? I hope you're having an exciting Thursday. Even though I heard Thursdays, they can get bent.
Yep.
So here's what's on the agenda tonight. We're going to talk about the third Doctor Who special, of course. What else? It's what we got to talk about.
Yeah.
The
Dr. Giggle. Was it Dr.
I don't know
Giggles?
why. The Giggle is not a good episode title, in my opinion. It's just too goofy. But that's the nature of a giggle, I guess. Hey, everybody. So that's what we're talking about tonight. But before that, how are you two doing?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay, great.
It's Christmas time, you know.
So I got distracted because our view numbers for once spiked way up, which is very unusual. Huh. But they're dropped way down now.
Our awkward silence was.
Our awkward silence lost us at least 10.
10. Wow.
It spiked, and now we're to 0. That seems like a fluke. But it was in double digits for a moment. I was like, huh? Nah, there we go. Now I feel comfortable. Nobody's watching.
Now I can say whatever I want.
Real quick, we've been watching a couple of things, and I know we haven't really been doing that during these Doctor Who specials because we don't want to stretch the episodes too long. But we watched a movie in particular that I think, Jesse, if you haven't seen it, I think you might be very interested in. We watched Violent Night.
Oh yeah, I've been thinking about watching that because I saw that it was on something. What was it? A Max?
It's on Amazon. Yeah,
okay.
Prime. If you've got Prime, you can watch it.
Yeah.
And it might be elsewhere, but I think it's still pretty early. I think Prime's the main place to get it unless you want to rent it specifically. So David Harbour.
Oh yeah, yeah. Frankenstein's monster, Frankenstein.
Yeah, as Santa Claus, and that's something I'd forgot when we started watching it. I remember the trailer from whenever they released the trailer, and Melanie mentioned it, and I was just kind of on a whim, like, well, let's go watch it right now. And she's like, yeah, and I was like, yeah, where's it streaming? And yeah, we have Prime right now, so we watched it, and I had forgotten that I was like, okay, so it's David Harbour as a Santa guy. No, he's the Santa guy. He's Santa Claus, and it's basically Die Hard Santa. If it was Santa Claus, but in Die Hard, I feel like it came from somebody's like, how do we make Die Hard, but there's no debating that this is a Christmas movie now.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
And it's not exactly Die Hard. It's not like it's not in a tower or anything like that. It's in a mansion basically, but it's exactly that kind of action movie, and it's
a little warrior.
Yeah. It's interesting because there's like 3 things, and it commits to them in complete earnestness. It's a Christmas movie, along with child who maybe doesn't believe in Santa or believed in Santa and wants to believe in Santa. And it's got the whole there's a child kind of at the core of the emotional plot line, right? And it commits to that like any other Christmas movie. It's kind of hokey in that respect. It's got the family dynamic, and the parents are split up, and it really commits to that aspect of kind of tropey the family drama Christmas movie. Die Hard type action movie. John Leguizamo is the villain, and it commits to that aspect. Kind of visually, it has just, I don't know, that kind of action movie. It's not that they can't be stylish, but I find them a little bland in their execution, and I think this intentionally commits to that. And I don't think I don't think they are trying to make it bland. It's just that type of movie looks a certain way. And they commit to that. And then the other thing is Santa Claus as a brutal murderer in a way. And they commit to that. And it's all like so straight faced, like the way it like kind of delivers it. What did you think of it, Melanie?
I liked it. I thought it was, I mean, it was not the best movie ever, but as far as what it is, which is a weird combination of things, they did a really good job, I thought, of blending them together. Excuse me. And it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
I feel like, I mean, obviously the core idea is a comedy, right? But I feel like they don't lean all that heavy into comedy. It could be funnier. For me, I ended up giving it like 3.5 stars. I'd say it's like a solid 3 if I'm not like questioning myself. 3.5 just because I give it a little extra because I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's some good moments, but it could have been better. That said, like, I don't know. It's just what it needed to be. I thought it was good. David Harbour is great. He's always great. He plays Santa in such a like, it's basically disillusioned Santa. Like
yeah.
So, there's room for character growth with him too.
He's not even supposed to be here today, except he is.
Right. He's just like kids. They just don't. He doesn't even remember why he got into this whole thing. He's just kids are kind of crap now. Whatever. Whatever. He's just a very like Santa's burnout, and I don't want to get into spoilers, but like they give him this kind of super interesting
Backstory?
or backstory, or at least unexpected backstory that I thought was
That's acting, sucker.
that I thought it was great.
Yeah,
And-
and they never really do explain a lot of it though. Any of the Santa stuff really.
Even he doesn't understand it, which
Yeah,
is like a
that-
recurring joke. Like, yeah.
He's like, I don't know how it works. It's magic. It's Christmas magic.
But it's fun. I'd give it a recommend. I don't have your hopes too high, but it's a good, entertaining watch.
Sure. Not on level with John Wick.
No, I think John Wick's better execution and more stylish. There are a lot of a lot of the action in this are fight scenes between Santa and random whoever bad guy. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of those scenes, and they're good. I want to say there's like one action piece that particularly stands out to me. I guess maybe two. The climax was okay, but there's one action piece that really stands out. The other ones are fine. They're decent. It's got some interesting kills, and Santa. David Harbour is delivering lots of Santa-appropriate one-liners, where every time, like, he'll say a thing, and it's just like, you can't groan too hard, because it's like, well, of course, it's Santa.
It's Santa.
That's what he's gonna say.
One of my favorite
Stuff like, go ahead.
I was gonna say one of my favorite things about it is he'll like do something, that maybe Santa shouldn't be doing, to a person, but whatever, he's defending himself, and then he'll be like ho 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 afterwards. It's so stupid, but it made me laugh a little bit.
I do like how he worked the ho 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 into his like laugh. It kind of works.
It does.
But the thing is, like, when he decides to be brutal, he kind of takes glee in it. So, like, he'll murder somebody horribly and then, like, and laugh about it as he walks off. But he's still the hero, mind you. It's good. It's stuff like Santa Claus has come to... just the typical one-liners you'd expect.
Sure.
But David Harbour...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, he delivers so many of the lines so, like, mumbly and, like, just, like, tired and done with it. Like, that's the character. Yeah. And I thought that was interesting. Like, he's not, like... It's what you'd expect. You've watched Stranger Things. You know the like,
Yeah.
where you're like barely spitting out the dialogue because his character's just like done with it.
Better not
It's
pout.
that to the max. Yeah, it's that to the max, and he's Santa.
Right.
What were you gonna say, Melanie?
It's maybe a slightly spoilery, but not really. But my other favorite thing is some of his interactions with the henchmen. Uh, is pretty great too. Or their reaction to him more is what I mean. I think that's silly, you know, holiday show stuff, but it's good when there's like, you know, a bad guy and they're like, it's Santa or something like that, you know.
Ah,
Right?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
You hear me? I had muted myself for a second. Yeah. Anyway, so yes, and I don't want to spend too much time on it, but Violent Night is interesting, and apparently, we seen this headline before we watched it. That's kind of what reminded us that oh yeah, that movie's out. It's already gonna get a sequel. So
yeah, I had heard that it was pretty good, so I'm not entirely surprised it's getting a sequel. Probably doesn't need one.
on Letterboxd, the reviews are. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't need one. It could have one. It doesn't matter. It's fine. I don't know what they're. I feel like the obvious thing is to like follow the Die Hard trope, where it's like, okay, it's basically the same except in a different location now. Are we gonna get Santa on a plane? I don't know. That'd be kind of good, but
Santa on a plane. That's funny.
there's no chimneys for him to escape through there,
That's right. Yeah.
or even mall in the mall. It doesn't matter where.
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say about it, but yeah, okay. It's. Oh, I was going to say the letters, the reviews on Letterboxd are kind of all over the place, but that makes sense to me. There's a lot of the middle of the road. There's some people that love it, 4 stars and up. Some people are like 1 star because I think it's because it's not so far out there that it's like a Santa sleigh type thing or something, you know, where it's just like.
right.
But at the same, so it's a weird mix of when Santa's doing violence, it's extreme, it's gory. There's one-liners, and that seems at odds with a movie that is otherwise like really straight-laced, Die Hard type clone or holiday movie. It's just a weird mix. So I get it hitting.
It's not going to
people
be
and-
for everybody, but if you are ready to embrace it, you'll probably just enjoy it, which is basically what I'd heard. If you go in just having fun, then you'll have fun.
Right. Also, and then a quick recommendation: we've started watching a show on Netflix called Bodies. Have you heard of this, Jesse?
That sounds familiar, but I don't know. I don't know why. I don't know what it's about.
It's based on a Vertigo comic story. I don't know if it was a miniseries or what. I think of the same name, Bodies. And all I'll say about it is, for one, I'm enjoying it so far. We've got like what, Melanie, 2 episodes left.
Yeah.
It's like an 8-episode thing. But I'll tell you the basic setup, and this is established in the first episode because this is what initially hooked me, and I was like, I gotta check the show out. A dead body appears in an alleyway, I don't know, in the UK somewhere. 4 times. Like in like the late 1800s, 1941, 2023, and maybe another time.
Oh,
The same exact dead body appears in this alleyway, and you follow the 3 or 4 detectives that are investigating it in their respective timelines.
interesting.
And
Yeah.
he's naked and has a tattoo,
Yeah.
which is so it's you know, something that is noteworthy when you find a dead body. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they have having those, you know, case logs. If, you know, somehow you would
Right. It's established.
Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna say, yeah. It's established pretty early that it's like it's the exact body. It's the exact same person, just at 4 different time periods. So It's good.
Yep.
Check it out. I'm enjoying it so far. I don't know how it wraps up. It definitely feels like it's probably a one season thing, one season type story. And because it's on Netflix, I kind of hope it is because I want a resolution. And Netflix is notorious, especially if it's a mystery, for canceling those shows. So
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, we don't want
Arcade
another.
one.
Oh, I don't even remember what it's called, so never mind.
I didn't dive too far into it, but Netflix released basically the viewing numbers on like 18,000 of their shows, like and the movie, like their whole. It's got to be close to their whole catalog. I don't know how many shows and movies they could possibly have, but
Why?
the
Why
whole.
did they release that? Like,
I think it's
just
part
to
of
show
the.
that, like, hey, we're not just canceling things. We have a reason.
No, I think it has to do with the strikes. I think it's about being transparent, like increasing their transparency. And I think Netflix was just like at this point, from what I read, whoever's in charge of Netflix right now was basically like before, yeah, we didn't want to release that because we didn't want to give other potential competitors a roadmap, right? And they're like at this point, it doesn't matter, which is like the streaming bubbles burst and like
Yeah.
whatever. Everybody's struggling, so it doesn't matter. Is kind of the sense I got, but I think it's partially because, like, at this point, who cares, and also because of the strikes and stuff. Like, they're promised, like, they have to be more transparent, so they just released a huge bunch of stuff, and it turns out like the most watched movies and shows on Netflix is a bunch of crap I've never even heard of nor watched. I mean, some of it I'd heard of, but yeah, it's not necessarily the stuff you would think. And I'm guessing maybe that's a lot of some of it might be overseas stuff. I don't know. I don't know. I'd have to look
Yeah,
at the list again.
I suppose that makes sense. Too. Like, they have different regions and whatnot.
Right. Right.
And you think people are always like, "Oh, that was such a good show," and a lot of people watched it, and they're like, "Yeah, but a lot of people watch a lot of shows." You know what I mean? Everybody thinks their shows are the good ones, but
Like I think there were more like Korean dramas and stuff on there than I expected.
Oh yeah.
But that
Yeah.
makes sense because not only because I'm sure people in other countries will watch a lot of that, but also, and I think it was partially because of like drying up of local content, over COVID and then the strikes. It seems like that is also kind of caught on over here, like a lot of the Korean shows, and I know definitely the Korean like horror stuff is definitely caught on over here.
Is there
But
a
yeah,
new
there's
Squid Game or whatever?
I don't know I don't know if Squid Games was on there at all. But I'd have to look at it. I'm surprised I haven't seen more headlines about it.
about the real show or about
No,
the
about
game show?
the number Netflix
Oh,
releasing
okay.
a little bit the game show too, but
Well, I would imagine for like a regular person, it isn't going to affect them at all. You know?
Jesse, have you been watching or consuming anything? I kind of dominated
Pretty cheesy, pretty cheesy
Sorry.
stuff, like Christmas stuff. Like there's a Christmas meme movie or special. It's a holiday special, and it's like done up just like the old Rankin Bass Christmas specials. So like there's like a fake commercial break kind of thing. And Mim plays Santa in it, and it has the puppets from Danny Johnson Saves the World. It was just fun. I watched that one, and then Holly and I we get on these like garbage television shows once in a while. Like we watched all of Glee from beginning to end. And so we watched Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, which was basically a lot like Glee or Eli Stone or something like that, where she can read people's thoughts, but they play out in a musical number. So, So she
Okay.
thinks she's going crazy all the time. And so we watched that show. It was only a season long. And then they created a Christmas special we did not know about. So we watched the Christmas special.
Okay. Okay.
So that's the main thing is like Christmas specials we've been watching. And then the other thing, and I'll just throw in our plug right here and now. I talked about the solo RPG bundle that I think has since passed. It's no longer there.
Right.
But they re-upped another one that I would definitely recommend, which is like Tabletop Essentials, which has all sorts of like random table books and stuff that you can get for like next to nothing now. And also, they have a Pathfinder bundle right now, which is the current edition of Pathfinder, and you can get like 28 books for, I don't know, like $25. And you can, like, if you try to buy those books physically, each one of those books will cost you at least $25, and that's if you find it used. Like, that's a steal as far as Humble bundles go. So if you're gonna get any like RPG stuff, I would check out Humble Bundle right now by going to grawlixpodcast.com/humble.
Yeah, do it. You can see Grawlix on our thing right here, grawlixpodcast.com. That's how you spell it.
And you just /humble. And then you're there.
/humble.
And then you could look at all the stuff. And there's a bunch of cool stuff. Like Fruity Loops is on there right now. There's like a Fruity Loop bundle and some other bundles. But the reason that I bring all that up is that my latest obsession, which I kind of talked to you guys about it in chat, was this this idea that you can play tabletop role-playing games solo. And I think I mentioned that I got that solo bundle. And so I went down the rabbit hole because I was like, okay, now I got these solo role-playing games. How do you do it? So I found this YouTube channel, Me, Myself, and Die, and he like uses this mythic DM emulator thing, and it's super fascinating to me. So I've been watching his channel and like listening. I've been listening to the podcast version of his first season just because like I'm more likely to listen to a podcast than watch a YouTube show. But I've watched a couple of his videos and they're super fascinating, and the way that it all works is super fascinating. And
You haven't
like
tried
the
to play yourself,
stories. I haven't tried it yet. I do have the emulator though, so like if we want to try it sometime, we could do it too, you know, like if we need a new holiday a new Halloween special and we don't want to DM ourselves, that it's fascinating how he does it. And then I've seen him try it like as he DMs, like a no prep DM style, and that was pretty interesting. So yeah, I want to try it at some point, but I don't know. I mean, like, he's fun to watch because he's a voice actor and he's very boisterous, and you could see his process. I don't know how fun it would be to do it yourself alone in a room and not like make the voices and record yourself and all of that. You know, it's just like, I'm just talking to myself, or I'm not talking to myself, and it's all here and I'm just writing it down. Like,
Right. Where you're just alone in a room, not saying anything. You're just
maybe
doing,
with a
it looks
play
like
mat and minis, and just like not talking to anyone, and just like moving the minis around, rolling the dice. Oh, I suppose I'll do this. Roll the dice and move the mini, and we're just like it's like I can't imagine it. You know, it's like playing a game of checkers against yourself or something. You know,
right.
You just got to bring back that childhood like play and pretend, and then you can.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Then you do it.
Yeah. It could be fun.
Christmas
I've got a lot of
time.
toys, so I mean that is me. And I'm not against recording it either, you know, like that. So who knows what this will do, but this is my latest ADHD hyper focus fad.
Right.
If you've been watching the Grawlix podcast long enough, you've probably picked up on a few.
Right.
What's Kiefer's fad this week?
Glad it's not just me.
Nope.
I do that real bad.
What was it? The Emu was it The Sims? Like you were doing a bunch of Sims for a while, like.
Oh my gosh.
The one.
Sims,
What was the one?
Satisfactory and.
Satisfactory. Some of them will come back for little bursts later, but
Yeah.
when I was playing through Red Dead Redemption, it was all Red Dead Redemption 2 stuff all the time. YouTube videos. I do like I'll scroll through YouTube and like there'd be videos that pop up from channels that I subscribed to while I was on like some hyperfixation kick, and I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember that. Do I want to watch that now? No, I don't really want to watch that now.
Yeah.
It's like when Melanie was upset because I was on that big anime kick, like One Piece, and watched a whole bunch through a ton of it, and got her watching it. And then when I was like, I don't want to watch this now. I need a break. And she's like,
Yeah.
"You're never gonna go back to it, though."
Right, yeah.
I will.
Yeah, and you forced me to stay on after I was like, I don't want to watch this anymore. You're like, just gotta get past this, and then you poop out. That's why I was mad.
Listen, that show gets so frustrating.
You need to be a nice guy like your friend there and watch what girls want to watch too.
I watch some of the stuff you want to watch. You want to watch a lot of things. When it's something I want to watch? Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
The only thing you suggest are like educational videos on YouTube, and I'm like, well.
What's wrong with learning?
Oh, speaking of that, I got a story for that.
Okay.
Literally today, someone was talking about a cat or something, and was like, "Oh, you mean the Yule cat?" And like one of my kids, like a second grader, I was like, "Oh, you mean the Yule cat?" Like I thought they were talking about the Yule cat, the Scandinavian like almost horror story. Like it eats children, and I was like, "Well, they like Five Nights at Freddy." I mean, there we go. So I fired up a video about the Yule cat today in my class. In my class, I'm like, "Oh, I hope I don't get a call about this one." And the one kid was like, "How do you spell it?" It's like super like into it all of a sudden. It was the same kid that was like, it was like, "This is not what I was talking about, Mr. Kiefer." I was like, "Oh no, what have I done?"
Yeah, and you never really know what's gonna freak him out either. I remember I played
Right.
Meow, the video Meow for all three of the kids at around the same ages, and like a couple of them were really into it, but then the other was like terrified for a while, and I'm like, really?
Yeah.
But it's so cute. I mean, they're zombies, but they're cute.
When it's just like a myth, it's like a literary myth, but it's kind of, I mean, like the Yule cat is pretty gruesome. Like some of the depictions of him are not great, you know. He's kind of a demon, like cat, you know,
Yeah.
as big as
Yeah.
a house
Well,
kind
then
of
they
thing.
need to be good. They won't
Yeah,
have to worry about
the
it. if they're good, right?
Scandinavians really want those kids to be good. Dang it! Otherwise, a cat might eat you. You know?
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of all I've been doing. It's just like, chick shows and and solo RPG stuff. You know?
Yeah. So, wait, what are we supposed to be talking about today?
Doctor Who.
Oh,
What?
Nothing.
Okay.
There's just a big delay.
There is a big delay. I hear you in there quite a bit before I hear you on here. Okay. Well, let's do it. Yeah, we're supposed to talk about Doctor Who. I feel like last week we had a really good segue, and so that will make up for this segue that's happening right now.
yeah.
Hey,
It's
talk
a real
about
laugh. It's a giggle or two. We're gonna have a giggle or two.
Oh, it's a giggle.
Dr. Giggles.
So this is the Doctor Who Special 3, the Giggle. It's the third 60th anniversary special, and it's a lot. It's a lot this episode.
It is a lot. Yeah.
I don't know where to start. We will get into full spoilers if you haven't watched it yet.
Well, I think we have to start in 1930, whatever, or something.
Right.
What
right.
was it? The 20s, the 30s?
1925.
Yes.
1925, I believe, because I was like, that's 2 years before they got talkies, which was
Yes.
1927.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we're introduced to Doogie Howser. Speaking of doctors,
Yes. Right.
am I the only one that still refers to him? He has at least like he's had a career beyond Doogie. I feel like a lot of people probably don't even necessarily associate him with Doogie Howser.
Most people probably think of him as Barney Stinson from How I Met Your Mother.
Oh yeah. Okay. There's that show. I never really watched it. I hated Doogie Howser, by the way. show was on all the time when I was a kid. I hated it. I don't know why. It's like the kid is a doctor. It should be a thing that appeals to kids.
I didn't like his friend.
I don't think
His friend was a punk, you know?
I don't remember his friend at all.
He was like a
It's unrealistic.
greasy guy.
A kid like that wouldn't have any friends.
Right.
You're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked Neil Patrick Harris in this. I thought he was fun and did a good job of being scary, like sometimes too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He played the role really well. And the interesting thing about that is, like, I don't think he knows anything about Doctor Who, is what I've heard. It's like
That's
so he
the-
could just
I did
come in
see
and
that.
play the role, you know?
Right. I did see that he was not aware of what it was. He didn't. He'd never heard of it, which I don't know. I guess he's American, right? So it's
Yeah.
I get it, but at this point, it's pretty weird, and he's clearly not like keyed into nerd culture.
It's kind of like not knowing what Star Trek is, you know? Like, it's a show that's been around
Yeah.
as long as Star Trek. Granted, I know it's not, you know, from the United States, but it's been around that long. You've probably heard of it.
Right, right. Yeah, I thought it was interesting. He was doing the heavy like, was it like German accent? And I was like, that's okay. That's an interesting choice. But then at one point, like even in that opening scene, the customer guy who walks in and wants to buy a doll or whatever, he's just like, you dropped your accent there for a second. So like, and I wonder what the deal with the accent, because even later in the episode when he's talking with the doctor, he'll switch in and out of it. So I almost wonder if it was like, they even mentioned Celestial in regards to out in space, but I wonder if they're like, well, originally there was a lot of cultural appropriation with this character. So what if we just make it so that's
His
what he
bag.
does?
Yeah.
He appropriates different cultures, and right now he's appropriating like a German culture. I feel like that's probably where that came from, which is an interesting decision.
Yeah, there was I read something that said, and I didn't get like too far into it, but it was basically that, where they were like, okay, and he's not just going to stick with a German accent. He's going to like purposely do a bad German accent, but he's going to be slipping in and out of like a Norwegian accent. And then he would just throw on his American accent randomly, you know.
Well, that's okay. That's all right then.
Well, that's all right then.
Yeah,
Yeah. I love that. Was so good. That part was great. I mean,
it was
5 stars right there.
Yeah, it's really interesting because since we're kind of focused on the toy maker specifically right now, I and I'm okay with like when he's around, reality is malleable, like because that's that's how it was in the original. Like they got sucked out of regular reality into his little world, and I could be wrong, but I think that's like in the classic series, the original story with that character, there might even been like he brought like a comic book character to life. So there's this big like overly muscly, cheesy, like he just bring random fictional characters to life and stuff like that. So like played with reality in that respect.
So like similar to like how they did that with the second Doctor, where they wind up in the land of fiction.
Maybe I might be I might be combining those two now that I think about it.
Okay.
I might be combining them, but it was a similar type thing, if I remember right. And I want to say some of those episodes are lost, but I do recall it's got like one of my favorite, like I think cliffhangers leading into that story from like the first Doctor. I think it was the first. Was it the first Doctor run?
Yes.
Okay.
The toy maker.
Where,
yes.
Yeah, where like I don't remember how it happens, but like the console from the TARDIS ends up in like a black void, and like some of the companions are on it, and like it just seemed very surreal out of nowhere.
Second Doctor, and that is the land of fiction. Yeah, you're thinking of the
I'm
one
mixing
with,
things up.
It's
then.
Zoe and I think it's Zoe.
Yes,
Zoe and Jamie in that one. That's
then
a
I'm
good,
mixing.
that's a
then
good
I'm
story too. I love that one. This one has, I think, only like one episode that is actually available
Okay.
because they're re-releasing it and animating it, but they're keeping the
Right.
episode that is, like how they've been doing these animations. They've been animating the whole thing. Well, with this one, they're gonna keep the actual footage that they still have for the episode that they still have, but animate the rest.
And you mentioned the animation that they were doing like in the trailer for this, and I've since checked it out, the
Oh,
trailer anyway. It's not great, but I don't hate it as much as I hate some of the other animation styles. Like some of the other
sure.
ones, and not dogging on the production companies they hire to do this. They've got to work within their means, but like some of the other ones just look like it's not even Adult Swim level. Some of the animation, it just looks like
Yeah,
old Flash animation.
right. This at
And
least
this one,
looks like a, I don't know, the Clone Wars mixed with a video game.
right, right. It's not great CG, but it is at least like stylized in a way that isn't immediately off-putting to me.
Right. And with as hokey a character as the toy maker, this is one of the rare opportunities where it might actually work to be kind of cheesy.
Darn, I can't believe I kept mixing those stories up, but I totally did. I
Well,
put
they're
the
so
toy maker
similar
in my head.
in that like
Yeah.
reality doesn't work right.
Yeah.
And I loved Everything Everywhere All at Once, so this was a great episode to me.
Oh yeah.
That when he shows up in unit and he's doing that like song and dance number, which I think was Spice Girls.
It
I
was
didn't
Spice
recognize
Girls
it right
and
away.
Spice up your life, yeah. I was like, is
Okay.
that Spice Girls? Of course it is, because we've got Tony Award winning Neil Patrick Harris.
You're right. You're right. Of course they had to have him do a musical number, right?
Yeah.
But that whole sequence, especially when the two like guards run up and he turns them into balls, I was like,
Oh my god, yeah.
And then
there was some
and the
horrific
pedals.
stuff in this that was incredible. And that was
Right.
one of them. Is like when he turns into a ball and then like there's the guy's face in the ball and you're like, "Oh god." And the doctor's just like, "I'm sorry, they're dead."
It's like, are you sure? Because
Yeah.
I told Melanie, I was like, oh, somebody watched Everywhere, Everything All at Once. It definitely takes some inspiration from that, but it's not like it's out of place. It's fitting for the character that they're working with, and why not? Like, it looked great. It was a great sequence.
Yeah.
But Neil Patrick Harris was good. It made the toy maker such a weird, like he feels more like, because sometimes the Doctor will encounter these like entities that aren't really people. They're like some like intangible force
Some of them
inhuman
have
in like a
weird bird for no reason.
right.
Guardians.
And I feel like the way that he was played or portrayed here, he feels like a force just wearing a body to like interact with people, as opposed to like a person. Like the Guardians or whatever felt like people. Or didn't the Whitaker encounter, who were they? She encountered
Time. She encountered time or something.
oh yeah, time, and then there was some other like force before that, eternal something. But they just felt like people, like, or at least they're like once were people. And the way he played this is, I think it was switching between like the voices and stuff, and like you can't really nail down a specific personality. Sometimes obviously angry, sometimes just like kind of goofy, to where it's like, yeah, I don't really believe that that's a person, but that works because it's not a person. It's a like a weird, unknowable force behind this thing.
And the costumes and the effects really helped to sell that too, because like when you see him as enormous and pulling the puppet strings kind of thing, it's like, oh yeah, he's got some extra dimensional
Right.
chutzpah or whatever. I don't know.
I had
Right.
a little beef with that whole that section though, because why I know it's been a while since Donna's been with the Doctor, but why are you going to be stupid and run ahead and let the door close behind you with the other person in the other room? They should know better by now. Come on.
Right.
The 14. He's not really. I mean, they kind of play that, but he's not really on his game. Like, it was him that ran ahead, right?
Yeah.
He's like, don't.
Yeah,
Yeah, first off, he
actually,
tried
it
to.
was.
He didn't want her there. He's like, oh yeah, I don't know if I could save you this time, which felt a little out of place in the scene, but it made a great trailer bite, right?
Right.
But then, like, yeah, stick with me, and then he runs through a doorway ahead of her, and they get separated. It's like, dude, what are you doing? You're trying to leave her behind, aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk. Okay, that weird robot that is now part. That weird robot that is now part of Unit.
Oh yeah, and they're just like, oh, there it is. But I mean, like, we jumped around a lot. Like, we went from so the crux of the whole thing. What's his whole plot?
He wants to play a game.
Well, I mean, the Giggle though. That's like where it all starts. Is back in
right.
Yeah, back in the 20s or whatever. He sells that puppet to the guy who created the very first televised image, which was of that specific puppet. But I mean, like, he made it so creepy, like right off the bat. He was just like, "What? You're not gonna take his family? You're just gonna take Bill or whatever his name was, And it was like, "Oh, fine," like, he's not.
Well, and then is that real hair? And it's like, yeah, I got it from a whatever. She's not gonna need it anymore. And it's like, if I was the customer guy, I'd be like,
Yeah.
like,
you know what? I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. I don't need this puppet. It's fine. Right. Constable.
Yeah, I don't know what his goal. I mean, other than, I guess, to make people crazy, I don't know what his goal would have been.
I think it was just to get the attention of the doctor. Like, he just wanted to get the doctor's attention ultimately. I think one of the things that I'm confused about with all of this, like all three of these specials, is that they seem to try to come up with a rationale for why this happened and blame it on the doctor somehow. But then they just kind of like hint that maybe it's the doctor's fault, and then they just keep moving, kind of thing. So on this one, he was like, "Oh, it's my fault. We traveled too far out into the edge of the universe, and that let him in." I was like, "How did that let him in? I don't understand that." Mm-hmm. Like, now the the barrier's too thin, and now he was able to follow us back or somehow, and
maybe the explosion at the edge of the universe bust a hole in it or something.
Maybe.
Yeah, I didn't even catch that, actually. Yeah, I feel like just throwing little lines there, but not really fully, like, just sketching it out, right? Just like, well, maybe. Yeah, that works. Okay, that's fine. I feel like sometimes that works where it's like you don't need to fully explain it. You just kind of throw there. Maybe it's something for viewers to chew on like we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Right.
Or maybe it's just like the thinnest little thread to be like, yeah, okay, that explains it, right? Well, yeah, it's fine. Sure. Good enough.
And if you get too detailed about it, then you're going to run into problems where, well, in this episode, this happened. I mean, how many times has he been to the edge of the universe or between universes or outside of time, a billion times. And if you get too detailed about how that happens and what it means, it's going to confuse everything more than it already is.
That's a good point because, like, it's there to where if you want to jump back and then, like, feel all clever because suddenly binary has a different meaning in the context of the story or whatever, like, it's there if you want it. But if you don't ever end up going back and pulling on that thread, it doesn't necessarily feel like a plot hole or whatever. It doesn't necessarily feel like a dropped thread, which is something, that happens, especially in long-running shows like this, where they'll set something up and then it just had to go a different direction. I don't know.
Well, that's silly because they should have everybody read the entire history of Doctor Who before they get to write an episode. Just so they don't.
Oh, no. I mean, nothing will make sense at all if they try to, like, they're definitely not going to try and patch plot holes because, woof.
They needed to start doing that, like, 60 years ago, if that was the case. 55 years ago.
You read too much Doctor Who and you get the Timeless Children, and we don't want that either.
This is how you get. You want Timeless Children? This is how you get Timeless Children.
It. Yeah. You watch the brain of Morbius or Morbius. I don't even know. Watch the brain of Morbius too many times, and you get weird ideas like timeless children.
You know,
Right.
the Doctor got kind of weird in this episode too. I almost thought the like Giggle was affecting him because he started getting really like angry like for a minute, but then was fine.
Yeah, like unnecessarily too. Like he
Yeah.
took the opportunity to take pot shots at the human race. It's like, this is neither the time nor the place, 14th Doctor.
Right?
He embarrassed Melanie when he started going off on that tirade at Unit. Melanie did the thing that she has to do when something usually like super embarrassing or cringy happens on the TV. She started going like this.
Oh yeah.
Which usually doesn't happen during Doctor Who.
Yeah, it's cheesy, but it's usually not cringy.
Right.
Well, about the plot line of this, like the first televised image, I get what they were going for, but and sometimes it worked. It's like the silence where it's like, oh, those things have always been there. It's just everyone forgets or whatever. Or they do it with other things too. I guess maybe in a way Blink, but it's like trying to take a thing that's like, oh, this has always been like make a creepy legend out of this thing, right? Mm-hmm. But for me, it did not work at all in this. Like, the image is creepy, and I kind of enjoyed the Giggle had a musical quality, and that's how they figured out the laugh or whatever. And then the toy maker later, when he laughs, he definitely hits those specific. But just the like him like, it's on this screen, it's on this screen, it's on your iPad, it's on this, and it's on that, it's on that computer, and I was like,
yeah,
what?
yeah.
Why?
Yeah. Why are you sonicking everything? Yeah.
It doesn't need to be on all that stuff. That's silly.
Well, then
They don't make no
they
sense.
went political and anti-vax too with the like bands, and then they pulled in that one character. I don't even remember what she's from,
Oh, right.
but they like made her a crazy Fox News host or something, or not even
Yes.
that, almost like an Alex Jones kind of thing. We're like, I'm not going to wear this thing. What are they? What are they trying to hide?
I watched a video about a video about this episode, but it went into that character. She during the initial RTD run, she was the news anchor lady they'd have on the AMN or whatever, AMNN, the American Media News Network or whatever it was, their version of like, American news.
Yeah.
And like she got character progression because now it's her own show. Like,
Right.
that's interesting. But that's the actress that he would have played the news anchor when he was running it before. So she's like a weird recurring character in the background.
I did like the whole thing with Kate Lefford Stewart. Like her scene was the best. Like the rest of it seems so cartoony and over the top,
Yeah.
but she was
When they
brutal.
took her band off,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. Oh man.
oh, it was so good. Which she's like, I've seen you walk. I was like, oh no, what?
Yeah. That was the best use of that whole. I think of that whole thing. Like that was the only thing for me that paid it off. I was like, oh snap.
I didn't even catch. I
Do
didn't
not
even
mess with
connect.
her.
I should have. I didn't even connect it specifically to the anti-vax thing. I was just like, well, yeah, that is how it would be, especially if the idea is that it heightens this like confrontational aspect that people that like is super evident on the internet anymore. That's obviously the thing they're commenting on, but I didn't connect it specifically to like, but there's a cure and people
Right.
don't want to take it. And I was like, oh, okay. I did not. I don't know. I'm just so used to like people just like anything. They're like no, so I didn't connect it specifically.
It wasn't quite as in your face. So I mean, like it's still being handled better than the way that Chibnall probably would have done it. Like you probably would have had a whole like speech about how you need to get vaccinated or something.
I did
this was handled
see.
better.
I did see at least one comment, but from somewhere on social media of somebody like, it's the whole like, I watch these shows for escapism. I don't need real life, blah blah blah. And it's like, dude, Doctor Who it's like classic sci-fi. It will pull in social commentary whenever. I guess it just depends on like how well it's handled, but just the blanket like, I watch this for escapism. Like I hate that like complaint.
Yeah.
Then don't watch sci-fi because that's what a lot of the genre is. is
Yeah.
commentary.
Yeah, it even comments on itself sometimes about how messed up it was in the past about things,
Oh yeah.
and I appreciate it.
Right. Oh, people really didn't like that either. But I mean, I guess along those lines, but jumping back to something you were saying about Tennant, or about 14, he did have that tirade, which was also like might as well have been looking at the camera, addressing the audience. So I get
Yeah.
like that doesn't come off as super smooth, but it's like I was talking about last week. He is a very emotional version of that doctor, like an overly emotional. Like the last episode, they had him get upset and punching a wall, and I was like, that is not doctor-like at all.
Yeah,
and
Oh,
I think
he's
that
living his trauma, man, and that plays
Yeah.
into this episode too.
Yep. Yeah, I think this episode really kind of reinforces that idea, but also plays on that and kind of leads us into the big thing. Do we want to talk about
well,
that?
I mean, like, do we want to talk about the showdown and how 14 explains the toy maker and how that works, and like how he's played everybody. He played God in one, and then he played the master and has him in a tooth, and he has apparently
him in a tooth.
47 creepy teeth.
and there's who's the one? There's only one that he walked away from. He doesn't want to play with. I don't remember what it was. Who's that? They're setting something up, like, because he was saying like he played everybody, whatever, and like but there was one he was afraid of that he didn't dare play with. And he walked away from him. And it clearly wasn't the doctor, because he's searching the doctor out now. And it obviously wasn't the master. He won against the master. So I wonder who that one was. They are setting up some potential big bad.
Couldn't be. It wouldn't. Oh, yeah. They are setting something up. I don't think we'll know. I don't think we'll find out. I think that's going to be. It may even be something new for RTD's run.
They're also, RTD has confirmed that, like, I don't know, it's necessarily going to be the toy maker himself, but the toy maker's legions will become a reoccurring thing, or will be showing back up. So I don't know what that means exactly in terms of like characters, but it's basically like, yeah, there's going to be like, we're doing more magic stuff, essentially. We're doing more nonsensical magic stuff.
Yeah, and he kind of alluded to the idea that it's going to change the way the show works a little, and some people may not like it because it will be less science fiction-y and more fantasy. Yeah, there's been some fantasy elements, so
I'm torn on it. Like, I'd argue there's, even when they try to, like, especially during Moffat, like, he'd try to, like, oh, it's sci-fi, but like, it's like, no, dude, you're doing straight up fantasy stuff. Even if you're talking about like rebooting the universe, sure, that's like a sci-fi kind of concept, wrapped in a sci-fi concept, I guess. But then, like, the Doctor's only there because they remembered him or something like that, and somehow that ensures that he's in this new rebooted universe that played out exactly like the old one.
Well, and like the TARDIS being up in the clouds, and they had some kind of sciencey, explanation or whatever, but it's like you had to climb a ladder up into the clouds, and then it was basically on a platform in the clouds in that one Christmas special with Clara.
Or the Dobby Doctor.
Frankie Levin. Yes, the Dobby Doctor. Right.
Oh, it was psychic energy. No, it was wishes. It was wishes.
Right. Yeah, you
is
used
what brought
wishes,
him back.
man. Yeah.
Yeah. Or anytime they bring back the Master after he was like definitively killed is always magic crap, and it will be again.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This time, it wasn't magic. It was interdimensional power. But he did have rules, and the rules say best 2 out of 3. And I was wondering if they kept going, if it would just keep going and be like Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure or something, where they're like, 3 out of 5, 5 out of 7.
3 out of 5.
Oh
They
yeah.
could
Yeah.
just keep doing it forever,
I knew they were going to do the 15th Doctor, though, when he made that one comment of, like, but that's not for you, or something like that. I was like, this is going to be for further down the road. What I didn't actually know or believe was that, oh, snap, it's happening. right here, right now, kind of thing.
I was a little surprised when it happened. Like he just, I, the laser blast and all that. It just delays oh, and he's regenerating. It's like we're just gonna do this now. That's
It
okay.
was
That's
both
weird.
impressive and disappointing.
Yes, yes. I was
just
like,
oh man, they're just gonna do it. Oh snap, you know. And then it happened. I was like, oh, that's how they're gonna do this.
so okay. I feel like that's definitely gonna.
It was very. It was like pull my finger, and I didn't like that.
Yes, I thought that too. I thought that too. It was like, another thing before we get into that, because we're going to spend some time on that, I know. But we got Mel.
Oh,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I don't think we
And they
really
actually-
mentioned her. Yeah.
This is something I didn't realize, but like it was always in her character that she was like a computer whiz, I guess.
Yeah.
But I feel like the classic series did nothing with that.
Yeah.
So it makes a lot of sense that, oh no, she's working for Unit doing computer stuff because that's already in her character. Yeah, she's a good addition. And
Big Finish let her be that character too, so she's actually got
Oh,
some
okay.
experience playing that character.
nice. I also really enjoyed when Kate offered Donna a job. And she's
Yes,
like,
yeah.
60,000 blah 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 a year, and Donna's like, make it 120 and blah blah blah, and she's like, okay, done. And whatever, she was surprised.
Donna's
But I like that idea. It's like, okay, yeah, Unit's just gonna hire up the old companions, but that makes sense. Nobody else has that experience, so
Right.
do it.
Yeah, they're more likely to be like, oh, it's just the whatever ends. They're no problem or something like that.
I wonder if we're gonna get more Donna through that. There was that
I'd be
talk of
fine
a
with that.
Unit
That'd be
spinoff.
Yeah.
I think we're definitely getting more Melanie Bush.
Yes. Yeah, they basically said that because I didn't think we were going to get her on this one. I thought we were going to get her during the Shutigawa reign or run.
Right. So yeah, I wonder if we'll get more Donna along with that.
We'll probably get more of the Donna and Doctor and Mel.
I'm so curious if we're gonna
goes.
get more Tennant. Listen, you can't trust what RTD says.
Right.
He's
The
And he's
Doctor
not
lies.
being-
Who coined that phrase?
right. But he says, and I get it. He says there's no plans for more Tennant stuff right now because he doesn't want to overshadow Shutigawa, which makes sense. But how can you not, though? At some point, right?
Yeah.
You got to, you got to,
Right.
you got to.
So yeah,
They're gonna have-
I mean, we're basically
They're gonna have more Rose. She's confirmed as coming back for more
Oh
stuff.
yeah. Oh, nobody likes
Donna's.
that.
Donna's. I thought she was fine though. I thought
Yeah,
she was a
I
good
thought she
character.
was fine too.
Wait. Oh, okay. You're talking about
Not-
the new Rose.
The new Rose. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so we got to get into it. We got to stop delaying, man.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
What? By generation.
By generation. And
How
I've
did
heard
you guys
about it.
feel about this? Sorry, delay. You go ahead, Jesse. You had things you were saying.
Oh, well, I mean, I heard about it. Like, I don't know who leaks this stuff, but I heard about it in one of those rumor articles or whatever, and I was like, boy, I don't know. It does sound like RTD, but I doubt it. I doubt they're going to do that. And then they did it, and so it was like it had already been sort of spoiled for me because it had been posited, and then when it happened, I was like, oh man, they're going to do that, huh? And so I don't know. I would have liked to have seen it without someone already basically giving it away.
Yeah.
What'd you think of it, Melanie?
I thought it was silly. I don't know that this. I just don't see why he would be any more traumatized now than he would have been after the Time War. If he needed to separate and get some therapy, that would have been the time, I would imagine, rather than now. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Other
No,
than everyone's
actually,
trauma or something.
I agree with you on that because I get that the Doctor would have trauma, and I liked how they explained it. It's basically like he's never, like, since the first Doctor, at least, he's never taken a break. I mean, he has some downtime here and there, but he's never, like, it's been adventure after adventure, and he's never stopped to whatever, and, like, he's seen Gallifrey destroyed, like, twice at least, and somehow, and he's never taken a break. But I did think it was weird that, like, suddenly this, I mean, I guess whatever, the Doctor's personalities are different, but, like, suddenly he's dealing with all this trauma when it's like 13 kind of seemed okay. She didn't seem like she was really having too much trouble with that aspect
Besides what you know.
of things.
The only thing I can think of is like the Doctor is starting to deal more and more with the emotional side of things, and you see this like weird yo-yo of it, you know, from 8 to 9 to 10 to 11 being kind of wacky and madcap, and then you got 12 who just won't even, is like almost autistic in the way he won't deal with people or accept hugs, you know. And then you had 13 who was like literally calling them her fam, but also not really interacting with them.
She did have flavors. She did have like elements of that, because there was that scene, and I kind of thought it was really crappy of the Doctor to treat it that way, where Graham was trying to open up to her about like the cancer worries and all that, and she was so awkward about it and just kind of like, I don't really know how to deal with this. That seemed very weird to me. So I guess that's just a matter of like she just didn't deal with it.
The Doctors don't seem to be there very often when their people die. Like he leaves them, or they die and then he finds them later. You know what I mean?
I do like that the toy maker, when he's talking about like what happens to your companions, and the whole like, well, that's all right then
That
thing.
was so good. I love that.
Specifically targeted Moffat's era. Like, if I remember right, it started with Amy Pond, and like those were all specifically Moffat era companions and their fates. I thought that was now that I think about it, that's pretty interesting. But yeah, I don't know. I liked this. I don't know. It was so, it's on one hand, I'm like, what a cop out. Like the whole bi-generation thing. Like RTD loves to have his cake and eat it too. And especially when it comes to Tennant. Like, not only is there now two generations that are both, or, you know, regenerations that are both Tennant, there's also the clone of Tennant off with the original Rose somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, he just, like, can't get rid of him.
And then, what happens to this one? Like, does he get to regenerate and Chutigawa gets to regenerate? Or, like, will he just eventually, once he's dealt with his trauma, disappear?
I feel like in my head so far, of course, they're going to, who knows whatever RTD decides, if he's still, like, when that comes up and he's still running it, whatever he decides to do, it's going to be ridiculous because that's what RTD does. But in my head, based purely on the line of, like, 15 saying something to the effects of, like, it's therapy in, like, reverse order or something.
Out of order,
Out of order. Because it seems like 14 has all this trauma. 15 shows up, and he's, like, seems to be free of it.
Oh, yeah, I love it.
And he's like, all right,
gives him a
I'm
hug,
free of
like,
this
I'm
trauma
here for you. Yeah.
because of what you are going to do, and that is deal with your trauma and take a break. So in my mind, even though he's there already, 15 would still be after Tennant. So I feel like, I guess maybe he would just disappear. I don't know, but I feel
Maybe
like
meld back together.
that could be. That could
like a
be.
like a Jamie Madrox multiple man thing where he has to be reabsorbed.
Yeah.
Right.
Like maybe when the 15th Doctor regenerates, he absorbs 14. But they've also talked about this bi-generation thing. Have you read any of those articles about how it's like, it changes everything and now all the Doctors simultaneously exist again?
Oh, I seen something about that, but I was like,
I'm like,
oh.
that is ridiculous. That doesn't make any sense. So like the 5th Doctor's out there traveling somewhere, and so is the 4th. And
right.
it's like, well, they are anyways because it's out of time.
Yeah.
Like they're time travelers, so of course they're out there traveling, but they're not. They don't still exist.
Like, yeah, that we didn't. There wasn't like we watched almost all of them regenerate. Like there was no bi-generation thing.
Yeah.
I guess there could have been between 2 and 3, but
Or
otherwise
whatever happened in between 4 and 5 with the what's his name, the messenger or
the Watcher.
yeah, the moment has been prepared.
Yeah.
Whatever that character was called.
So there's the one hand. I'm like, I don't know, man. That seems real cheesy. But on the other
one
hand,
hand, love this hand.
right. Well, on the other hand, I love me a David Tennant Doctor, and I'm 100% fine with this. Like, it seems weird to me, but I also am so fine with it because I thought they were going to regenerate him there, and I was like, that seems very anticlimactic. Just like, oh, suddenly it's happening. And that didn't end up being the case. And I'm happy with it. It's an interesting decision to have him like, okay, well, now he gets to live his days with Donna and her family. It's interesting specifically that would be Donna, but like also people love the Doctor Donna combo, so it works. It is a bummer that like Wilf was clearly supposed to be there in that last scene, but he was already gone because they'd only got to film the one scene with him. So he's off shooting moles.
Shooting moles with a shotgun. Yeah.
Which is also a weird decision, but
that's like, what? He never did that before.
Right.
Pretty solid, put together dude who just liked to look at the stars.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could have been like, oh, there's a solar eclipse he's going to look at, or place the scene at night. Like he's looking at this.
We like gave him force fields. That's a bad idea.
Right. But I do like it. I like it.
Do you like how they split the TARDIS?
No, I don't like that.
You gotta hammer. What do we think about 15 too? Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you want to, maybe not everybody loves Tennant, but everybody loves Tennant. So you want to endear the new Doctor to the audience. Have the first thing he does is hug Tennant and be like, "It's gonna be all right," and console everybody's favorite Doctor.
Yeah. That's one way to pass the torch.
I thought he was good. I thought it was super smart that he comes out just with it. Totally with it. You don't get any of that like weird regeneration, like hangover they have or whatever.
Yeah. He's very self-assured.
Yes. Confident and super self-assured. And just like, well, here's what we've got to do. And I liked it. I thought it was good.
I like how he turns to Mel and it was just like, "What do you think, Mel?" And she's like, "You're beautiful." And Tennant's like, still beautiful." You mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I thought it was good. It was a pretty good first impression, in my opinion.
No pants either.
No pants. I do like that though because they're wearing. That means Tennant is going commando. I was trying to think of a polite way to say it. Because they totally just split the outfit that they were wearing. Fortunately, Tennant was wearing layers. There was a comment on a YouTube video about it. Basically, 15 shows up, kisses himself on the forehead. I don't remember the whole spiel. It was a whole good like breakdown of like, yeah, that's what he did. Like got himself therapy. and whatever, all without wearing pants or something like that. It was a really good breakdown
yeah.
of like his first, and I was like, yeah, okay, that's a pretty good introduction of a character.
They defeat the toy maker in there too.
Oh yeah. Oh, that guy.
So who? It is interesting because as soon as that happens, it's like toy maker who, and like they
Yeah.
got to wrap up the story with the toy maker, but it's like, oh, this is
With a game of catch. I was like, really? This is a guy who can bend reality. How's he ever going to miss the ball?
It is interesting that it seemed he could cheat because that would be cheating though if he did.
Oh,
And
right.
he never
Rules of the
cheats.
game.
And I liked that. And the doctor was very like even assured of like he never cheats. That's the one thing he doesn't cheat.
But he did even earlier when he called the 2 out of 3 or whatever. The guy got very serious about it. You know.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, but he's so serious. It's like some of the for as over the top as Neil Patrick Harris is in a lot of this performance, some of my favorite moments are when he's just serious. Like when Donna's like, "Well, he'll just cheat," and they just look at her like she's crazy. Like he would never
Yeah.
do that kind of thing. Like that just it's a rare moment of just complete straight face. You know, kind of like when they come out and he's in the like bomber jacket in this ridiculous gun, and they're like, "Where are my sentries?" And he's like, "Well, they're probably still falling."
Uh-huh.
And if you listen closely, you then hear sounds. You hear him hit.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's pretty dark, man.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, again, those are some of my favorite parts. This is, well, that's all right then. And
I feel like he succeeds, whereas for me, I was never wild about the what's his name? The Sim Master.
oh, yeah.
John Sim.
John Sim. Yeah.
I was never super wild about his master, and it's not necessarily his fault. It's kind of RTD's writing at that point. He always did really weird things with
Because
like
John Sim was better under Moffat, actually.
yeah,
The
yeah,
return was way better.
yeah. Yeah, RTD did like if the master showed up in RTD stuff for the most part, it got way too out of control, way too fast, and then like ridiculous. But I feel like the toy maker kind of succeeds in that kind of villain where it's like goofy, kind of flamboyant, a little Daffy Duck, you know, and then snap into serious because he's a deadly serious threat. And even the last master we had, his name escapes me, had that too, except
Sacha or something. I don't remember his
yeah,
last
yeah.
name. Yeah.
His master, his master had that too,
Rasputin.
right? Except kind of like when he'd snap into serious, it was more like angry, unhinged, as opposed to just like solemn, serious. But I feel like Neil Patrick Harris kind of nailed that type of villain character a little better than some of the masters have.
Oh yeah.
When are we getting the master?
Always dress for the occasion.
Right. So when are we getting the master, you think? Because I seen a thing that point. First off, whoever picked up the tooth was floating over the edge of that building.
Right,
But-
right. Well, it's clearly Mrs. Sims, right? Or whatever. What's his name? Oh, the master. Vote for Saxon. Yeah, it's Saxon.
Right. Well, it was. I seen a video point out it was specifically a woman's hand with red nail polish, who also picked up the ring or whatever it was when they resurrected the Sim Master through their weird magic ritual. But that was the cliffhanger there. It was a woman's hand with red nail polish. So is it one of the, what do they call them? The Sisterhood or the something of the Space Witches, basically.
Oh, wow.
Like,
yeah, I don't know. Suppose it could be. I thought
because that's who resurrected
maybe
him
be
that
Kate.
time, right?
Like Kate's just gonna grab him and put him in a locker.
I don't
and
think
of course
so.
He's gonna come back. No.
No, I don't think so, because the fact that it was specifically like red nail polish, and the shot is very similar to the shot they did when they teased like, whoa, Master's gonna come back at some point, and then they did the weird magic ritual with the fire and chemicals and
Yeah, I was gonna say they're gonna have to
science.
take him and throw him in a vat of something, and he's gonna regrow from his golden tooth.
Oh, no.
Yeah, yeah. I'm intrigued, man. So we just finished Doom Patrol. I think I mentioned it last week, maybe. I kind of want Missy back. Missy was great.
Oh, yeah.
She might be my favorite master, I think.
I hope they do bring. I'm like, I think she'd be fun under RTD's run. You know, I mean,
Yeah,
I would like to
yeah.
see somebody from the Moffat era come back. You know, just to, I don't know, give us some bridging. You know, I'd like to see the last master come back, but they've clearly kind of decided he was turned into a tooth.
Right. That is kind of the interesting thing about the Master, more so that, I mean, obviously, we were just discussing the bi-generation. They could do whatever they want with the Doctor. And even the way, like, Jodie's Doctor was forced into regeneration is kind of like a weird thing where the Master was her for a while.
Oh yeah,
But since we don't get to see all the Master's regenerations, and he's off screen until he shows up as a new person, basically, I mean, they could really... They don't have to explain it every time. It could just be some random incarnation that you never saw. It doesn't even have to be... It can be a pre-New Who Master that shows up randomly. I feel like there's flexibility with the Master, and that's why it's always a little bit more bewildering to me when they'll go to these ridiculous lengths to be like, he was resurrected through this method. It's like, we don't
Yeah.
need that. And I feel like this last Master, he just showed up. There was no explanation for how he was back. And that was fine.
they should have done more with Derek Jacobi while he was, still kind of looked like that Yana character or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, he was great for the little bit that he was like, remembered he was the Master.
And he is great.
Right?
on
Am I
Big
thinking the right
Finish.
thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah?
He's great on Big Finish. They call him the War Master, but he's always appropriately creepy.
All in all, I like these specials a lot. None of them are perfect. They're all kind of flawed in some way. But there's a lot of interesting ideas. RTD definitely had a specific thing he wanted to accomplish with 14, with Tennant returning as the Doctor. And I'm not sure if it makes a ton of sense, but it's good. It's always like... I think it's partially recognizing that Tennant Doctor is really strong when he's like... Well, he's strong when he's being suave, of course, because Tennant's good at that, but he's really good when he's kind of on the edge. Because, like, the Time Lord victorious, the whole moment, and then after that, when he was, like, super upset, like that... I love that scene towards the end of his 10 run, when he's talking to Wilf, and he's just, like, on the edge of breaking up the whole time. Like, I think he recognized, like, Tennant's he's really powerful when he's in that state. So let's just have him kind of potentially be in that state the whole time. It's an interesting choice.
The only problem I have with like the 3 specials is just like, it almost feels like a callback to when he had his 3 specials to end his run, right? Because there was that time where it's basically like, okay, we're going to do this special, this special, this special. And that was kind of like the season of just specials. But it would have been nice to, I don't know, like having more than 3. Like it does feel very fast, this run.
Yeah.
And I suppose it feels fast because the run's not technically over.
Right. I'm very surprised at how completely separate these stories were. I mean, there's obviously, the Donna carryover and stuff, but I expected, 3 specials. There's going to be some, like, the Toymaker's the big bad. There's going to be some seeded throughout. And it's not at all. Like, these are basically Monster of the Week style episodes. And that's very unusual to me that's how they decided
Especially
to do
the
the
middle
3
one.
specials. Right.
The middle one in particular just felt like, just another episode.
Like, you could have... And I think I kind of like the middle one more for that, but in the context of it being part 2 of a 3-part special, it's weird. It's a weird decision.
Yes,
But
maybe
I do
one
like
of
the idea of, like-
best, it's maybe one of the tightest ideas of the 3, right?
Yeah.
Like That idea is just tight. It's weird. It's creepy. It checks so many boxes that it might be the best of the three, but it's also not.
I really do like that it was just like, that one felt very much like, let's just have another adventure with the Doctor and Donna. Whereas the first one and the last one are kind of dealing with like the baggage of, I mean, why is Tenant Doctor back suddenly? And then the end is like, well, we got to like tie this into the next Doctor. And the middle one was like, let's just have a self-contained, this could have been like slotted into one of the older series, its own adventure. And that's what I liked about it. But it is weird in that like there's so few threads between all three of these, outside of the main characters, obviously.
Yeah.
It's kind of amazing.
Yeah. You know what else is amazing?
What?
Brain matter.
Oh no!
This
is how you get Cronenberg's.
Indiana University researchers have created a cyborg computer by placing a living brain organoid grown from human brain tissue on a silicone chip. This is building on information that was shared by Cortical Labs in 2002, where they grew brain cells into a silicone substrate. But this team believes that by allowing the organoid to self-organize, it will allow it to be much smarter and adapt more easily. The high-density multi-electrode array sends signals to the organoid, and then it interprets those electrical signals, and that's how it works. They call it brainaware. So that's interesting, and I'm not sure if that's supposed to be like software or like aware, you know what I mean? Brainaware. Yeah. But anyway, mostly focusing on languages and math. They tested the creation, and it actually does seem to be working more efficiently, or learning more quickly at least, than the other cyborg AI thing that they made. And the hope in creating these things is that we will have faster, more accurate AI with lower energy consumption. But we still have to take into account that they will have to have a life support system if we plan on using them like long term. So we'll see what happens.
That's a bothersome sentence you ended that with.
Yeah.
That really drills home the weirdness of it. So when you were telling me about this the other day, you were talking about like they've done stuff where they mix like brain tissue into silicon and stuff like that, but this works better because like just having it on there, because it allows the brain tissue to do what it does best, and that's grow itself in a structure that works best for it. Like it knows how it should be structured.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And that made me think of like
plasticity.
And that just made me think of organic technology, which is just creepy on its own, especially made out of brain tissue that grows on its own. Forgetting the fact that they're using it for AI purposes specifically, because that requires a lot of computation. But I was just like, man, that is straight out of Videodrome, just like the organic technology, or Existence, if you've ever seen that, two David Cronenberg movies. So I'm like, that's Cronenberg tech, and that's
how you get Robo-Krang.
Yes,
from the Ninja Turtles, man. Yeah,
a brain that.
They were saying in the article, they were saying it's still too early, really, I guess, to have ethical concerns. But they were like, but if it were to continue, and the things were allowed to grow to such and such, to a certain extent, then we might have to start questioning, the ethical implications of it. Like, when does it become a person of its own?
Right.
So
I feel like if you know. Brain. As you're doing this thing and you're progressing it, if you know that you're like, if we progress this, we're going to have it's going to become an ethical issue. It's an ethical issue already. If you know that's where it's going, it's not too early to discuss it. Maybe it's the perfect time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Yeah, but this is not like the only study that uses brain organoids. Like a lot of studies use brain organoids, and nobody
Right.
really brings it up, and because they're not.
So they
It's not
put
a
it in a
person.
cat.
It's just grown from a person. They have mixed it with other animals, them pieces of organoids into other animals' brains before. So
Is
yeah,
how you
and
get
that
the
was
Yule
that
cat.
did become an ethical issue because they were like, if there's more than such a percent of human brain in this animal, then we have to kill it because it's wrong. That's
Oh
what they
man!
decided. Yeah,
And of
that was the
course,
decision
murder
they came
is
up
the ultimate thing. It's like, gotta kill it. It's
Yeah.
not fair to it. Wait,
That's
what?
kind of-
It's not
I mean,
fair to
basically
it, so we have to kill it.
yeah. That's the conclusion they came up to, I guess. Or like before, if they created something and it turned out that it had more than such a percent before it like grew to be full size, then they would kill it. Yeah. That's what they do right now. I don't know how that works with computers though, because or whatever you call it, the AI, because it's mostly brain, But
Yeah.
it's yeah, I really don't know. And I thought
It's
it was
like dealing
interesting
with
also
your
that
trauma out of order.
it was weird to me that they used language and auditory signals to test it too. When I'm like, so it doesn't have any organs to do that, but you're gonna still make it do the same thing only with electrical signals. It's strange.
No.
We already know how this goes.
Oh no.
Well, you gotta put a silicone chip in there though.
Well, you were just talking. You were talking about like what percentage does it like if
Oh,
considered
yeah.
like human this hybrid. Listen, you don't even have to have seen the show to know what you know the
What's
plot line
happening
just
here?
from these
Yeah.
pictures.
What's going on here? Oh no.
Oh, how cute! How cute! What happened?
What happened? Yeah, it's like Akira. He's just a
The
kid.
most traumatizing part of that whole of Full Metal Alchemist for sure.
There was a meme that was like one of the best I've ever seen, and it says, "You can't break my heart twice with one meme," and it had her and the little dog from what's it called?
Futurama.
Futurama. Yeah, Futurama.
Oh.
And I was like, oh. Yep. Those shows. man,
Yeah, those are traumatizing.
They are.
Super bothersome. But it's so good.
Yeah.
And I kind of want to revisit. I know we never finished Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. We need to. I kind of want to revisit it.
Yeah. But that shows support for individuals, for the work of art as a whole.
Oh, right. Well, I do like the English dub of that specifically because I'm used to those voices. I know that guy isn't working in the industry much anymore. And I only know that because of what you were telling me last
Yeah.
week
Yeah.
with Paul's experiences. So, yeah. Yep. That reminds me, Paul is currently I believe it's underway. His 13 days of Christmas Moose's Monster Mash stuff is going on. And earlier this week, I'll be on that show again. I recorded another episode with him. Me and him talked about the fall of the House of Usher. We dove into that series.
So one you might actually like.
Yeah, I told him, I was like, hey, for once, like, I feel like there's not a chance you asked me on here just to, like, bait me into being salty about a thing. But that's not necessarily always the case. He's had me on to talk about other things that I like too. Yeah, it was a good conversation. It was less than an hour and 45 minutes, unlike the last one, so that's good. It'll be a little bit more manageable to listen to, and yeah, you should check it out when it's out. I think I'm like day 12. I'm like the second to last, whatever. But I do know, and I hope this isn't spoilers for his audience. I don't know if he's announced it, but the episode that he's releasing the day after mine is he has the original writer and creator of Final Destination on there, and he'll be talking to that guy. So he's got some good guests lined up for this year's slate of insane amount of work he forces on himself.
Yeah. But you don't have to do this. You could just have awesome guests and just release them in a normal schedule.
Moose's Monster Mash is pretty much once a month now until December, and he cranks out 13. It's so crazy.
Right. Doesn't he do something like that around Halloween though too? Or does he just do this to himself around Christmas?
It's interesting. I think he focuses mostly on Christmas. I think he has done Halloween stuff though too, and it makes the most sense to me. But he really focuses a lot on Christmas for these like specials. But yeah, you can find that on electronicmediacollective.com, which I do still update, so it happens.
You can find a lot of great shows on there, like the Grawlixpodcast.com.
Yep. Yeah, you can find that on there.
You know, a lot of these great shows, they do utilize StreamYard because I feel like it's the easiest way to stream on the internet.
They legit do, actually. Like, several of them do. Because it is super easy. You can stream to multiple platforms at once. You can have multiple guests on. You can record locally, which means each guest gets recorded separately, which is, as a podcast editor, Melanie and myself both appreciate that. It's so much easier to work from separate files when you're trying to edit together something. If you do webinars, you can do webinars. They have all kinds of features. They're adding a lot of stuff all the time. So you start it for free at StreamYard.com.
Mm-hmm.
This is a bit of a sponsored segment. So there you go.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Melanie?
Something. It had more to do with the
of course.
13 Days of Christmas thing, but not really. It's not important, but it's Christmas time. So, did you know that all the presents in the 12 Days of Christmas are all birds? I did not know that, but they all are birds. Like
Maids
the
of
5
milking?
golden rings are like gold or like ring-necked pheasants, and the maids of milking are some kind of
Lords of Leaping?
a cattle egret.
The Lords, yeah.
The Lords of Leaping, I don't know, I have to look it up. But they're all a type of bird. So it's just a whole bunch of birds.
The mix
I
of
didn't know that,
partridge
and I
in a
found out
pear
recently, and I
tree
thought that was interesting.
more. Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
What?
Maybe I'll look it up and I'll leave a list or something.
There we go.
Just a heads up.
Yeah.
Don't get me one bird, let alone 12. I don't need them.
No, it's way more than that because
Each one is like the number, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of birds.
And it's like, but the second day he gives him what he gave him the first day and what he gave him the second day. The third day he gives him what he gave him the first and second day and the third day. It's like that. So there's like 365, I think.
That's flocked up.
Yeah. What do you want with that many birds? It's ridiculous. Anyway.
That song's just the tale of some like devious avian enthusiast's prank, bro.
Yeah. Such a burden.
Wow.
I'm just winging it.
Oh my god! It keeps
I could
going.
go feather, but I won't.
Not that it's super pun heavy, but I think you'll like Violent Night a lot. Now that I think about it.
Oh yeah.
Some of the puns, I think they'll hit you just right.
Yes.
All right. Speaking of what's looking at next week, I don't know that. Are we streaming next week? It's not Christmas till like Monday, but I don't know if that hits too close on the holidays or what.
I don't know. It's solstice.
Maybe we should do a special solstice RPG game.
You just bust out the mythic emulator.
Yeah.
I will say I'm down to stream. If you guys want to do something special like that, you should organize it, and I'll go along with it. I'm good with something like that. I don't know if I would be good to like organize it myself though.
I could try. I don't know. We'll have to think about it.
We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Stay tuned.
But so we might be doing something special next week. We might not.
We might just skip it. We might just cancel on y'all. Get ready
We might.
for anything.
And if we cancel, it'll probably be like an hour ahead of time. So we're
That's right. Yeah,
That's
you'll
how
get
we
plenty
usually
of
do.
notice.
yeah.
Plenty of notice.
Yep. I don't even notify people anymore. I just like, we're not doing it.
Oh yeah.
I used to once in a while I'll post about it. I used to post because I knew people used to be like, "Hey, you streaming tonight?"
Oh yeah.
Doesn't happen anymore.
Now they don't even ask.
Now they don't. Not sad or bitter about it.
Yeah.
The pig goes oink oink. The cow goes moo. The dog goes Edward. Sorry, I still had the Full Metal Alchemist memes up. Okay, so on that note, let's get out of here. Thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for listening. Hey, you guys got anything you want to mention real quick before we jump out of here? Nothing else?
No.
Okay.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for joining us. Grawlixpodcast.com. It's GRAWLIX podcast.com or electronicmediacollective.com. We're everywhere, all the time, all at once. That's the thing we used to say. I think we wrote everywhere all I think we wrote that movie and we didn't even know it. They ripped us off.
Yeah. Except we were talking about a URL.
Yeah, you're right. We were talking about a web presence and not like reality or a story about the Asian American experience. But hey, tomato.